Okay, so this one is about the nature of freedom. And I'm kind of surprised they haven't done one about freedom yet, but I talk about freedom a lot in many of the other episodes. So I just want to hone in on freedom specifically, because I think it's a concept that people are confused about. You know, in one scenario, you've got, and we've kind of spoon-fed this on television, where you've got the United States of America, and everyone talks about how it's the land of the free, and that they have freedom. And it's true, of course, except, and in fact, we all have freedom. And so when we believe that we're not free, whatever prison we believe that is containing us is, we've either imprisoned ourselves inadvertently, or consciously, purposefully. And, this is the nature of freedom, is that you're born free. You're born, entirely free. And, legally, if you want to be part of a country, a part of a nation, then when your parents sign your birth certificate, they become the custodians of you as the child. But very interestingly, the right to your body, the asset, it actually belongs to the government. And this is why it's lawful for a government body to take away your children, for example. If there's an abusive parent, then the government are legally entitled to take away your child. This wouldn't be legal unless they held the ultimate entitlement to the physical body of that child. And so it's a very interesting mechanism of law that we have in place, where you have common law, which relates to the living, breathing human being. Then you have the law of statute, which creates a fictional version of the human being called a legal person that doesn't really exist. It's just an imaginary concept. And the living, breathing human being that's born free willingly bonds to this legal instrument called a legal person. And, in law, you're the agent on behalf of the legal person. The free human being, the living, breathing human being, bonds to the imaginary legal person, which is just an imagined thing. And it's a bond. And so, as the agent on behalf of the legal person, which is your name in capital letters, that's your legal name, that is your instrument to enable you to bond to other human beings, to their legal person. So you can create contracts between legal persons, and you can also make contracts between legal persons and other imaginary entities like companies or incorporated trusts. And that legal framework is a matrix of law, but it's imaginary, and I call this, it's like physical and digital. It's like analog and digital. The analog, real human being is the free human being that lives and breathes. And then there's like a digital human being, which is a legal person, which doesn't really exist other than in our imaginations. But we can bond to it. We can make bonds to it. And those bonds act as a bridge between the worlds of analog and digital, of, real and imaginary. And for the most part, it works really well. And so, what I would say is that, in New Zealand, for example, the question, are we really free? Well, we are free. Every human being is free, because as a living, breathing human being, you have the right of revocation. You can revoke any bond that you have with any imaginary entity. You can revoke the bond that you have with your legal person if you want to, but you lose the privileges of that bond. This is the thing. And this is really why I want to talk about freedom, because nature evolves through the delegation of authority, and that authority comes with privileges. So when you if you want to revoke your bond to your legal person because you want to be a free person walking on the land, well, then you lose all the benefits of the matrix, of the mechanism, that the structure of that has been built around statute law, your legal person, and that legal person is what holds your driver's license, enables you to have a bank account, enables you to buy things online, get insurance, fly on a plane. So, yeah, of course, you have the right to revoke it. And they call it a free man on the land, walking the land. But you are not entitled to anything that mechanism provides. You're not entitled to it. And so this is why, and I'm sure lots of people don't understand this, when we talk about privilege, or when we say people are acting entitled. And now you are not entitled to anything. You're not entitled to anything as a free human being. If you want to be totally free and untethered, then you are free of bondage, and you're completely free. So you're free of all of your bonds, but you don't have any entitlements. But if you decide to bond to your legal person, you get so many entitlements. You're entitled to apply for a driver's license. You're entitled to, healthcare from the government, or, myriad different things. Now, those are privileges. And so when people act entitled, in some ways, well, what I would say is that if you ever feel angry in your life, triggered and angry at someone or something even, it always comes from a place of believing that you're entitled to something. Whether you're suffering in your life in unimaginable ways, and you're angry about it, it's always because you believe you're entitled to something. Whether that's that you're entitled to live in peace, that you're entitled to be taken care of, that you're entitled to love, that you're entitled to compassion, that you're entitled to opportunities, you're entitled to equal pay, you're entitled to X amount of dollars per year, you're entitled to XYZ, human rights. Everything that you're angry about in your life is because you believe you're entitled to something and you're not getting it. Fair treatment, you're entitled to not be harassed. And, you know, this is why I want to talk about freedom, is because a free human being, someone who's walking the land, who's purposefully revoked their bond to the legal person, they're totally free of entitlement. Are they entitled to not be mistreated? Are they entitled to not be abused? Are they entitled to peace, abundance, harmony? No. Those are not entitlements. What you are entitled to is the opportunity to create the life that you want to live in, the life that you want to live yourself. But you are not entitled to a single thing. Not a single thing. And even at the from the perspective of the laws of nature, the intelligence of nature, I mean, look at it. It's mainly predatory. You know, most things that live have a predator. You know, nothing that is born is entitled to its life. You see? It's a privilege. It's a privilege. And once you really understand this, once you understand that your life is a privilege, then it can completely, it can create a paradigm shift in terms of how you live your life. And so, you know, lots of people, you know, I would say especially in the self-awareness industry or self-help and even spirituality, they have this mindset of being entitled to abundance, for example. They feel entitled to abundance and you know, they're wanting some higher authority to shower them in abundance. And, you know, lots of people do affirmations about, you know, walking around in an abundant mindset. And what I would say that is that abundance is an opportunity. It's not an entitlement. Because what you see around you is total abundance. Because the intelligence that contains this universe has figured out the code of perpetual wealth generation. It's a system that is perpetually wealth generating. There's a never-ending surplus. But it's still finite, you see. The universe is, you know, it's a body. It's a heavenly body, a celestial body, and so in the same way that you live in a body, and you believe that you are that body, what's really happened is that you are pure awareness, perceiving yourself, perceiving your life from when you're a child, when you're a tiny little baby. Your perception is being altered by your environment, and all that's happening is you're coming to know yourself as Dave. I am David, or am I even David? Am I something else? Am I these arms and legs? What is David? Who is David? Am I something even more than this? Who am I? What am I? And so the universe knows itself as, in the same way that you have autonomy over your body, you decide how to move it and, which ways to move it, and you can utilize it to have an experience within reality. It's the same for the universe. It's the same for the universe. Like, within your body, you have a liver, and it's totally autonomous. It's totally autonomous. You have no control over it. The cells within the liver, the liver has no control over those cells. And this is what is meant by freedom. Everything is free. Everything is free to fulfill its destiny. And this is really the point I want to come around to about freedom. In terms of a way to encapsulate what freedom means, is that you are free to realize, to fulfill your destiny. And now destiny is not a nebulous thing. Destiny is, and I may even call this podcast episode "The Nature of Destiny." I'm not sure, but it's really about freedom, because I've used this metaphor many times. The oak tree. The acorn is destined to become an oak tree. That is set in stone. That is inalienable, and it's what I would call immutable. The potential of that acorn is immutable. It is set in stone. You can't change it. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you think about it. It doesn't matter how many affirmations you say. That acorn, its destiny is to be an oak tree. So destiny is real. It's completely real. And it surprises me that human beings talk about destiny and what's my destiny, and like it's some mystical thing. But you have DNA. Your DNA is unique. And so your destiny, it unlike an oak tree where you can have a whole range of acorns and they're all going to become what we would call an oak tree. Now, of course, no two oak trees are the same, but, to the untrained eye, to a human being, an oak tree is an oak tree, really, isn't it? But your DNA is entirely unique. There's no one else that will even look remotely like you. Well, similar, of course, but you are entirely unique. The way that you look, your behaviors, your predispositions, your perception, your perspective. Absolutely everything about you is different to any other human being. There's no other human being on earth that has your destiny. You are destined to become something unique that has never been seen before. Just contemplate that for a second. And so what you really, to sum up your freedom, is that you are free to realize and fulfill your destiny. To become the most that you can. To realize, and without getting too much into spirituality, it's to self-realize. Like, who and what the hell am I? Does the oak tree know that it's an oak tree when it's in the acorn? When it first begins to sprout? When it's 1 meter tall, 2 meters tall, 5 meters tall? At any stage within that process of self-realization for that oak tree, does it come to know itself as an oak tree? Because an oak tree is just what human beings have labeled and named some aspect of nature. But the oak tree has awareness. So what does it come to know itself as? And, I would be almost certain that it doesn't come to know what it is. Well, obviously it doesn't have the capabilities of a human being, but that it doesn't know. And it doesn't truly know what it's capable of and what its destiny is until that potential, that latent potential within its DNA, is being realized through the experience itself. And so here you have human beings, you have unique DNA. Contained within your DNA exists your dormant potential, and we can call that your destiny. Your destiny is to become the unrealized potential of your DNA. Now, that's in terms of physicality, but all of that truly is to just administer an experience of self-realization, coming to know what you have the potential to become. Your destiny is the total potential of what you can become in terms of your physical form and your behavior and all those kinds of things. But the purpose is to administer an experience. And so you may or may not fulfill your destiny. You may or may not realize all of your latent potential. But that's kind of the whole point. It's about the process of becoming what you have the potential to become that enables you to have an experience of self-realization. And it's my belief that the universe is in the exact same process of realizing its latent potential, of its destiny. And that it's so advanced that it's at the point now where it's perpetually expanding. That it's a perpetual source of its own energy and wealth generation. And that's part of our reality already. Wealth generation is, it is, that's what abundance is. Anything that can create a surplus of what is required. And all forms of life are spawned from that surplus. And you are free. You are free to realize as little or as much of your latent potential as you choose. You're free to fulfill as little or as much of your destiny as you choose. But you are not entitled to anything. You're not entitled to anything. Your life is there, and you have the privilege to be able to do many, many things by bonding to other forms of life that enable you to collaborate and become something even greater than you are on your own. You realize that you can become part of something even bigger than what you perceive yourself to be, and therefore realize even greater potential, fulfill even greater destiny. But it's a privilege. It's definitely not an entitlement. There's nothing that any form of life is entitled to other than an opportunity to fulfill its destiny. That's it. That's where it all stops. You decide how you wield your power. There's no promise that you're going to be protected, that you're going to be kept safe, that you're going to realize that potential, that you're going to get help. You have to make it on your own. And the paradox is that the only real way to do that is through collaboration and cooperation. You know, if you look at the oak tree, you know, at first glance you might think, well, it's isolated. It is on its own. Well, it's not. It's cooperating with the earth, with the soil, with the nutrients in the soil, with the sunlight, with the gas in the air, with the atoms and molecules. It's pumping specific nutrients into the soil that are enabling some other form of life to thrive. It's expressing itself into the ecosystem that it's a part of, and it's creating wealth. It's generating wealth. Everything, it's waste. Everything that it doesn't need is biomass for something else within the ecosystem, is abundance for something else. And human beings, we're pretty slow to clock onto this, to realize that we are actually part of nature, and our uniqueness, we are utterly different from every other person, and that life is a process of self-realization, you know, fulfilling our destiny by expressing ourselves into the ecosystem that we're a part of. And all we have to do is follow our nature. And the sooner that we stop trying to be like everyone else, the better. Because we're not meant to be like each other. We're meant to be totally different. We're meant to nurture those differences and appreciate those differences and define them and harness the potential of them to, you know, to be able to bond to other people's gifts and uniqueness, to create entirely new structures and organizations and, you know, creations that don't exist now. But you are not entitled. Not to anything. Not to anything. And not even to your own anger. You know, if you ever feel yourself going to blame someone for something, anything that's outside of you, just, you can say to yourself immediately, or ask yourself, what is it that I feel entitled to that's causing me to project my anger? What is it that I'm feeling entitled to in this moment that makes me believe that I can project my anger onto someone else? It's always something you believe you're entitled to. I'm entitled to be treated fairly by my partner. Really? No, you're not. You're not. You may expect it. You may want that. You are not entitled to it. What you're not understanding about that scenario is that they've expressed themselves authentically, and you're not willing to accept the reality of the truth that they may not care about you as much as you thought, that you're not as secure in that relationship as you had hoped. So understand this. They're entitlements. You're not entitled to be protected by your partner. You're not entitled for your partner to make you feel safe. They're not entitlements, they're privileges. And when you realize that you're privileged to have the life that you have and to feel the way that you do, to feel safe in a relationship, to feel protected in a relationship, you want to appreciate those things. And when you feel as though you're entitled to them, they depreciate. And this is the whole point. If you want, understanding that you're privileged to be able to be having the experiences in your life that you're having, you're not entitled to them, you want to appreciate them. That means to give them positive attention, to nurture them, to ask yourself, how can I make this even greater? What is it that's about my environment and about my life that's enabling me to feel so safe and protected? How can I cherish it? And this is how you appreciate your environment. Appreciation, we talk about appreciation like it's, you need to appreciate this and you need to appreciate that. And well, no, you don't. You don't have to do anything. You're free. And, for example, if you look at food, for example, you should appreciate your food. No. You don't want food to appreciate. You want it to decay. You want it to depreciate and be reconstituted into some other form of life and matter. The moment that food is disconnected from its source, whether that's the soil or the tree it's being picked from, whatever it may be, it's already depreciating. You don't want your food to appreciate. You want it to depreciate. What you want is an experience. You want the food to depreciate into your body and be reconstituted into some form of nutrient that your body actually needs and can reconstitute itself. And you want the surplus to be excreted and to go back into the earth to be able to spawn some other new form of life. So the process of eating is depreciation. The things that you want to appreciate are things that you want to remain and stay and become more and greater and bigger. And so the very mindset of appreciating food is really sending a signal to your body that you want to keep it, that you don't want it to go back into the earth, that you don't want your body to get rid of it. You want it to appreciate. And so it's more likely to store food on your body as excess fat than it is to depreciate that food. You see? The process of depreciation is reconstituting something. It's saying that this is ready to be reconstituted. And that's the whole purpose of taking food into your body, as well as the enjoyment. And so that's a much better mindset when you're eating, rather than appreciating the food, is being grateful for the food. An entirely different energy. And this is the whole point of gratitude, is to appreciate the privilege. Appreciate the privilege of receiving that food. It's so important to understand these things, to disentangle our mindset from, scenarios that are confusing or seem confusing. Because our biology, it utilizes the lens of our perspective to determine its behavior. So if you're sending the signal that you should appreciate your food, or that you want to appreciate your food, then it's going to try and appreciate all the food you eat rather than depreciate it. And if you feel entitled, you're blocking gratitude. A sense of entitlement. When you feel entitled to something, there's no way for you to be grateful for it. And the only way to truly be grateful for something is when you understand that you're privileged, that the food you're eating is a privilege. And then when you truly know that, you can be grateful for the privilege to be eating that food. You can be grateful for the privilege to feel safe in your relationship. You can be grateful for the privilege to be safe feeling vulnerable. You can be grateful for the privilege to have an opportunity to create a life within which your experience is perpetual wealth. You can be grateful for the privilege. And by focusing your attention on the privilege itself, you're appreciating the privileges. And so what happens? You become more privileged. You're appreciating being privileged. And so that's what appreciates. So these may seem like small little things, but, freedom people are so messed up about it. They're so messed up. They just don't know. People who want freedom, they just don't understand. They don't realize that they're inadvertently wielding their power in ways that are causing them to become entrapped. They're inadvertently bonding themselves and creating obligation to other people, or they're trying to live their life for someone else, rather than just being an oak tree and coming to know themselves as an oak tree, a unique flavor of human being, not making excuses for whoever that human being is and is becoming. So what I would say is that if you're one of these people that has this huge desire to be free, and you find yourself wanting to be a freedom fighter and wanting to protest against civil rights and all these things, what you actually want, what you really want, is to unravel the source of that anger and entitlement. Because what you're actually doing is you're demanding from someone else that they give you your freedom. And that in and of itself is resonating to the universe that you have no power. Because you're free now. But you are not entitled. Everything in your life is a privilege. And so, how can we all utilize our anger? And when we're triggered emotionally, how can we utilize that in a way that allows us to unravel, that will recognize an entitlement, to disentangle ourselves from that entitlement, in order to reveal the privilege that we're taking for granted, so that we can become grateful for that privilege instead. And that is what will enable us to feel more and more privileged. And the more privileged we feel, the more our cup is going to be running over. The more our cup's running over, the more wealth there is to be shared. And this is how you can feel truly free. Is by appreciating the privileges that you've been given. And that's it. Okay, that's all for now for the nature of freedom. Talk soon.